What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing with the 32-team 7-round mock draft series by finishing up with the final team with a first-round pick in the 2020 draft, and that is your reigning defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And the number one thing that jumps off the board when you look at their roster is they are getting a lot of returning players. They have suffered the least amount of exodus that I've seen from a Super Bowl winning team, really since the Eagles, and even the Eagles still lost some big-time talent. So the Kansas City has done a great job holding their roster together. Don't have a lot of salary cap. That could be a problem in the coming years. But generally speaking, they're a team that they really can probably go in a best player available type mindset for this draft because they're pretty much the Super Bowl champs taking the field yet again. You look at the offense, Mahomes, we know what he brings. Running back's an interesting one because Damon Williams is going to be 28. He's getting near the end of the life cycle of a running back, if you will. And obviously we saw during the playoffs, he was pretty dynamic for them, but he's not reaching Kareem Hunt level. So I think running back could be a surprise pick because as you've been paying attention to the mock drafts, a lot of good running backs still on the board. Wide receiver, you got Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. They somehow got Demarcus Robinson back on a really affordable deal. Their wide receiver core is pretty damn scary. You got Kelsey, Seals Jones at tight end. Schwartz, one of the best, if not the best right tackle in the National Football League. I think he's right there with Lane Johnson. Canadian icon, Duvernay Tardif. Fisher's been solid. I mean, you could look at guard center, maybe getting some other pieces here on the interior of that offensive line. So I'd say probably running back and interior offensive line would be the needs, I would say, on offense. Flipping to the defense, a little bit more pressing. I mean, the defensive line is good. Get Chris Jones hammered out to a long-term deal sooner than later. You had Frank Clark, Derek Nottie, Okafor, Breeland Speaks, Passagnon flashed a little bit last season. The defensive line is healthy. The linebacking core, yeah, maybe you want to look there during the draft. Or Darian O'Daniel, third-round pick out of Clemson, should be good. Hitchens is solid, but he's expensive. And you're a team that's getting kind of tight with salary cap. I don't know if there's an out. I don't know what's going on there, but I just know he's an expensive linebacker. He's not really performing like an expensive linebacker. Wilson, I think generally linebacker could be a worthy draft selection. At safety, Honey Badgers and Thornhill, you're good. At corner, you had a bunch of overperformers, overachievers, Breeland, Ward, Fenton, like those are the big three corners you have in the roster. Absolutely a big need. Now, unfortunately, if you've been following the mock draft, not a lot of good corners right now. Not a lot of first-round caliber corners. So if I'm Kansas City, first up, I might be looking to try to trade back. But for our mock draft, when we get into it, definitely want to try and get them a corner and maybe a linebacker. So without further ado, let's get into the 7-round mock draft of the Kansas City Chiefs. So we are now up on the final team picking in the first round, and that is your Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Where to go with the Chiefs? They pretty much have the exact same team that they had last season, which is great news for them. Got to hammer out a long-term deal with Chris Jones, but that will be coming. Even though I remember there was like that thing, it was like a meme that they had like $8 of salary cap. That's what happens. Victim of success. So we're going to try to help them out. This is kind of a almost BPA in a way type mock draft, especially early on. So at pick 32, without further ado, I was like the DeAndre Swift, running back from Georgia, 5'8", 215. Now, I already know they got good production out of Damian Williams, enough to win the Super Bowl. But he is, 28, 29, getting out there a little bit. That's like that's the expiry date for running backs. You got Darwin Thompson, nice value pick, 6-rounder, okay. But you get a guy like DeAndre Swift, you get the most complete running back in the class. Too good to pass over Kansas City. Another elite skill position player on a rookie deal. Now, I know there's a little bit of faux pas. Drafting a running back in the first round, you get that kind of big contract, which is, when you're a team like Kansas City that's kind of backed up against the cap, might not be the smartest thing, but in terms of playmaking ability, just keep making your offense unstoppable. I'm looking at this as like, Damian Williams is good, but he's not Kareem Hunt good. But DeAndre Swift could be Kareem Hunt good. He will do everything Kareem Hunt did and be more explosive. 4.48, he's elite vision, smooth catcher of the ball, and would be honestly an offensive rookie of the year candidate and favorite if he landed with the Kansas City Chiefs. I just think, why not? You're sitting here with Kansas City. You're like, all right, we're kind of, there's not a lot, all the corners. The corners probably a big need. The good ones are really off the board right now. Why don't we just get debatably the best skill position player on when all's said and done here at pick 32? Why not? So I think it might be too good to pass up. It's very enticing to get a guy that could probably even be better than what Kareem Hunt was back with the Chiefs. Going to the second round of pick 63, I'm selecting Darnay Holmes, corner from UCLA. 5'9", 195, a man corner who really does remind me of Chris Harris. You see 5'9", 195, you're like, oh, he's going to be nickel corner. And when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they got those. Fenton, Ward, I mean, Ward's probably not so much, but especially when you got Honey Badger, he can do everything. If you go to a nickel, you can play in the nickel. But I think Darnay Holmes is more like a Chris Harris. Can play nickel, also good enough athlete to play on the outside. He's smaller, but I think he can play outside corner. He played outside corner for UCLA. And I think he can be what the Kansas City Chiefs thought Kendall Fuller was. Kendall Fuller, small corner, proven nickel for the Washington Redskins. Chiefs tried him on the outside, didn't work out. Then they eventually moved him to, I think, free safety or something like that, and it also didn't work out. That's why they shipped him back, or didn't pick up his contract, and he went to back to the Redskins. But I think Darnay Holmes can be that smaller outside corner that they thought. I think it'd be a good fit for a Spags defense. A great athlete, 4.48, proven production, 28 pass breakups, 8 picks in his career. I think he could challenge for starting snaps anywhere in that secondary sooner than later. But, I mean, you look at that Chiefs secondary, the safeties are on point. Honey Badger, Juan Thornhill, who was really, really good before he got hurt. But it's that secondary. You got good snaps from Bashaud Breeland. Ward's solid. You need some other guys there. And I think Darnay Holmes definitely would improve that secondary immediately. Go to the third round. At pick 96, I was selecting Terrell Burgess, defensive back from Utah, 5'11", 205 pounds. Nickel safety who impressed in 2019 where he had 81 tackles, 7.5 TFLs, 6 pass breakups, an interception. I think he's more of a nickel. So kind of how I'm thinking about this mock draft, I have Darnay Holmes as an outside corner, and I have Terrell Burgess coming in and competing for that nickel gig. I think very much like Honey Badger and really Juan Thornhill. He kind of fits that mold. So even if you just have him as a depth guy, if Honey Badger or Thornhill gets hurt again, this is a guy that style, you're not going to lose that. That versatility guy that can do everything at a fairly high level, you're going to have that on the defense. Has similar ability to those guys. I think he could fill in depending on where Honey Badger's lining up. If you have Honey Badger going in the nickel, boom, Burgess come out and play safety. If you have Burgess playing safety, you want to maybe add something, a different dimension to nickel, have Burgess come in, Honey Badger back there at strong safety. So I just think it's another really solid depth guy that could surprise the Kansas City Chiefs and play and wear a lot of hats on the defense, which is kind of what they've been looking for. You get that in Thornhill, you get that with Honey Badger, you get it with Darnay Holmes, and you also get that in the third round with Terrell Burgess. Going to the fourth round to pick 138, I was letting David Woodward, linebacker from Utah State, 6'1", 230 pounds, a tackling machine. 20 starts in his career, 20. 256 tackles, 20.5 TFLs, 8 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 11 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. Proven production, who is an okay athlete. That's why, again, when you see these crazy numbers pop off, you're like, oh, why is he not a second, third round pick? Because he's not, the 4-3, 4-4 twitched up safety linebacker hybrid. He's more traditional than not, but his instincts and anticipation kind of make up for the athletic ability. I think he brings and welcomes depth to that linebacking spot and could eventually be a cheap replacement for Anthony Hitchens. This is a team that's kind of tight up against a salary cap spot, and you can get cheap. You can go budget with some of these linebackers. Hitchens got big money coming from Dallas. I think you can ultimately look at depth guys to be guys that can step up, and you have these starting linebackers be cap casualties. Dorian O'Daniel, you got Ben Nyman, had some pretty good snaps last year, and I would throw David Woodward right into that mix. And then finishing up the draft for the Chiefs here at pick 177 in the 5th round, I was selecting Yasir Durant, lineman from Missouri, 6'6", 330, a gigantic prospect whose scouts are divided if he'll be a right tackle, a swing tackle, or have to move inside the next level. He has the length to play tackle, might not have the athletic ability, he's not the fastest, kind of stiff, which usually means you're going to go into guard, but big mauler, brings desired depth, can move people in the run game and injects youth. If you're viewing him as a tackle, you got Mitchell Schwartz, who is 30, 31. They brought in Mike Remmers, again, 31, 32. Maybe be their swing tackle. Get some youth at that right tackle spot. Add some depth at guard, depending on how you feel about him. Either way, in the 5th round, versatile lineman, could be a practice squad stash. Don't know. But there you go, guys. That is my mock draft here for the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 defensive backs, cheap linebacker, and maybe the best skill position player in the draft, DeAndre Swift in the 1st round. Let me know how you feel about it in the comment section below. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace